In the quiet town of Herzberg, Lower Saxony, no one could have imagined that behind the walls of the Schneider family home, one of the most shocking tragedies in recent German criminal history was about to unfold. What began as a normal working day in March 2023 would end in a scene of horror that would shatter the entire community. Stefan Schneider, 42, was a man of respect. A former police officer with 15 years of exemplary service. He had retired early due to a back injury sustained in the line of duty. His colleagues described him as meticulous, disciplined, and deeply dedicated. Stefan was the cop you wanted beside you in a crisis, recalled Jonas Muller, his former partner. He never lost his composure. He always thought before he acted. His wife, Clara Schneider, 38, was a music teacher at the local elementary school. With her neatly styled blonde hair and constant smile, Clara was adored by her students and respected by parents. She directed the church choir and was a pillar of community life. Clara had a contagious energy, said Principal Petra Koch. The children loved her lessons because she made everything feel special. The couple had met 16 years earlier at a music festival in Hanover. Stefan, off-duty, had been captivated by Clara's voice from a small stage. He always called it love at first sight. They married 3 years later in an intimate ceremony at Herzberg's historic St. Maria Church. For years, they seemed genuinely happy in their cozy home on Bergstrasse, a quiet, tree-lined street. Clara tended a garden full of seasonal flowers, and Stefan had built a small wooden deck with his own hands, where they shared Sunday breakfasts. But the facade of perfection was cracking. Those close to them noticed subtle changes over the previous 2 years. Stefan had grown increasingly withdrawn after his forced retirement. The transition from a career that defined him to a hollow domesticity was more difficult than he admitted. He tried to hide it, but Stefan was lost without his badge, noted his neighbor and friend, Florian Weber. A man who spent 15 years protecting people suddenly had no purpose. That weighs on the soul. He spent hours in the basement workshop he had built, surrounded by tools and unfinished projects, searching for meaning. Clara encouraged his hobbies, but friends saw she too carried an invisible weight. Clara's sister, Sabine Hoffman, 35, was a constant presence. Divorced and childless, she had moved to Herzberg to be closer to Clara after her own marriage ended. Working as a freelance graphic designer allowed her the flexibility for frequent visits. Sabine and Clara were always inseparable, said their mother, Helga Hoffman. When Sabine's marriage fell apart, Clara was her safe harbor. Sabine was Clara's opposite, outgoing and modern, with an asymmetrical haircut and colorful clothes. In recent months, she had become a fixture at the Schneider home, often staying late. Stefan had initially welcomed her lively company, but neighbors began to notice. It was strange, admitted next-door neighbor Emma Richter. Sabine was there almost daily. Sometimes her car was still parked out front late at night. What no one on that quiet street could have foreseen was that behind the flowery curtains, the family dynamics were imploding. The public smiles concealed secrets that, once revealed, would not only destroy a family but devastate the entire community. On the morning of March 15th, Stefan woke at 6 a.m. Clara was already in the kitchen. Their morning ritual now a silent, polite routine. "I'll be back early," Stefan said, grabbing his keys. "My physical therapy was rescheduled for 2. Clara merely nodded, seeming distracted. Stefan attributed her nerves to the stress of the school's upcoming recital. He had no idea this day would obliterate his life, that within hours, truths would surface that shattered his understanding of his marriage and his own identity. His reaction would transform him from a protector of the law into its most tragic violator. As Stefan left his house that cold, foggy morning, he was living the final hours of his life as a free man. By day's end, 2 people would be dead, and he would be in the back of a police car, not as a colleague, but as a suspect. The tragedy was beginning. Stefan's morning was routine. A 6:30 a.m. departure for his physical therapy session at the Riazentrum Clinic. His therapist, Katharina Vogel, noted his unusual silence. Normally, he was talkative. That day, he was monosyllabic, When I asked if he was okay, he said he was just tired. The session ended at 8:15 a.m. With his next appointment canceled, Stefan went to his favorite bakery, Becker Schmidt, spending nearly an hour there. He seemed pensive, distant, owner Thomas Schmidt recalled. Then came the fateful decision. Stefan drove home early. He saw no need to call. It was his own house. At 10:12 a.m., he parked in his driveway. Sabine's red Opel Corsa was parked outside. This wasn't unusual, but something felt wrong. The living room curtains were drawn in the middle of the day, and loud music was playing from upstairs. A playlist Clara reserved for relaxation. His police instincts flared. He entered quietly. The house was unusually warm. He climbed the stairs slowly, avoiding the creaks he knew by heart. The bedroom door was ajar. He stopped in the hallway, 2 meters away, and heard it. Voices, low laughter, intimate sounds that turned his blood to ice. He pushed the door open. The scene before him was a physical blow. In the bed he had shared with Clara for 13 years, his wife was with her sister. There was no ambiguity. "Stefan!" Clara screamed, pulling the sheets around her. Time froze. Stefan stood paralyzed, his training useless against this betrayal. Sabine was the first to find her voice. "Stefan, I can explain." "Explain what?" His voice was a low, dangerous growl. Clara began to cry. "Please, let me talk." "How long?" Stefan asked, his eerie calm a prelude to the storm. "How long has this been going on in my house? In my bed?" The silence was answer enough. "Months," Clara finally whispered. "It started 6 months ago." 6 months. The word echoed in his mind. 6 months of lies. 6 months of deception. 6 months, he repeated. 6 months of treating me like a fool. "It's not like that," Sabine began. "Shut up," Stefan exploded. "You, whom I welcomed into my home. You cried on my shoulder when your marriage ended. And all this time you were—" He couldn't finish. The rage was a fire in his veins. Clara rose, wrapped in the sheet. "Stefan, please. We need to talk. Let me explain how this happened." "It didn't happen, Clara. You chose this. Every day for 6 months, you chose to betray me." He turned and stormed out, his footsteps heavy on the stairs. Clara followed, begging him to wait. But Stefan wasn't leaving. He was heading to the basement, to the workshop that held the key to turning betrayal into tragedy. In the history of Herzberg, this was the moment everything changed irreversibly. The moment an ordinary man crossed a line from which there was no return. The basement was Stefan's sanctuary. At the back, hidden behind a tool rack, was a small wall safe. Inside was his former service weapon, a Heckler & Koch P30. He had kept it legally, a favor from his old commander. For protection, he had reasoned. Now, his hands trembling with fury, he punched in the code. 060407, his wedding date. The irony was not lost on him. Upstairs, Clara had thrown on a nightgown. "Stefan, we need to talk like adults." Sabine, now dressed, was frantically searching for her phone. "Clara, we have to leave now." I saw the look in his eyes. "I can't just leave. He's my husband." In the basement, Stefan held the gun. The weight was familiar, a dark comfort. He checked the magazine, full. Then he climbed the stairs, the weapon held at his side. He entered the kitchen. Clara paled when she saw the gun. "Stefan, put that away. We're civilized people. We can talk." "Talk about what?" He interrupted, his voice frighteningly calm. "How you destroyed our marriage. How you cheated with your own sister." "We never laughed at you," Clara cried. "I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. Sabine and we connected in a way I didn't expect." "You connected," Stefan repeated. "In my bed, in my house, while I was in physical therapy for an injury I got protecting people." Sabine appeared in the doorway, freezing when she saw the gun. "Stefan, this won't solve anything. Please let us go. You'll never have to see us again. Just pretend it never happened?" He turned to her, his eyes cold. "Is that it?" Sabine's phone rang. She didn't move. I gave you everything, Stefan said to Clara, his voice breaking. 15 years. I worked overtime for your teaching career. I supported you. I built a life for us. And you threw it away for this. It's not just an affair, Clara shouted, a defensive anger rising through her tears. I love her, Stefan. I know you can't understand, but it's true. And I loved you, too. I still care for you. But what I feel for Sabine is different. The word love was a trigger. Stefan raised the gun, pointing it at Clara. Don't say that word. You don't know what love is. Love is loyalty. Love is respect. Stefan, put the gun down, Sabine pleaded, stepping forward. This isn't you. You're a police officer. You protect people. I was a police officer, Stefan corrected, the gun steady. Now I'm nothing. No badge. No purpose. And now no family. You took the last thing I had. The landline phone rang, shrill and sudden. Clara flinched, stepping back and tripping over a chair. Stefan's training took over. A sudden movement from someone at gunpoint demands a reaction. The first shot thundered through the house. Clara fell to the floor, her hands clutching her chest. Blood seeped between her fingers. Her eyes were wide with shock. No, she whispered. Stefan, no. Sabine screamed, rushing to her sister's side. She knelt, trying to staunch the bleeding. Clara, stay with me. Somebody, help. Stefan stood motionless, watching as if from outside his own body. Call an ambulance, Sabine begged, looking up at him, her hands covered in her sister's blood. For God's sake, she's dying. Call one now. But Stefan didn't move. He looked at the two women, one dying, one desperate, and something inside him shattered completely. The line between civilization and chaos had been crossed. You destroyed everything, he said, his voice flat. Everything. He raised the gun again. Time seemed to stop. Sabine, kneeling beside her sister, looked up and saw the barrel aimed at her. Stefan, no. Please think. This won't bring anything back. It will only destroy your life too. My life is already destroyed, he replied with terrifying calm. You made sure of that. Clara coughed, blood on her lips. Sabine, run. But Sabine didn't run. I'm sorry, she sobbed. Stefan, I'm sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, let me call an ambulance. She can still be saved. For a fleeting moment, something flickered in Stefan's eyes. A chance at redemption. Then Clara groaned in agony, and the moment passed. You had your chance, he said. Months of chances to be honest. You chose to lie. You chose to make a fool of me. We were wrong, Sabine cried. Terribly wrong. But that doesn't justify murder. You've spent your life upholding the law. To come home to this? Stefan's voice was broken. To find that my sacrifice, my work, my love meant nothing? Sabine's phone rang again. Her mother's name flashed on the screen. Answer it, Stefan ordered. What? Answer it. I want you to tell your mother what you did. I want her to know what kind of daughters she raised. With trembling, bloody hands, Sabine answered. Hi, Mama. Sabine? You sound strange. Are you okay? Mama, I need to tell you something. Clara and what's happened? Where's Clara? You're scaring me. Clara's here, Mama. She's hurt. Very badly. Stefan snatched the phone. Helga, he said, cold and controlled. Your daughters destroyed my family. Now they're going to pay for it. He hung up and crushed the phone under his foot. The finality of the gesture told Sabine everything. There would be no more talking. Please, she whispered her last plea. If you're going to kill me, call an ambulance for Clara first. Don't let her die in pain. Please, Stefan. If you ever loved us as family, do this for her. Stefan looked at Clara. She was unconscious, pale, a pool of blood staining the tiles he had laid himself. For a second, he was human again. He saw the woman he loved, their shared dreams, their life. Then he remembered the bedroom, the betrayal, and his humanity vanished. No, he said. The second shot was deliberate. He aimed with the precision of his training and pulled the trigger. Sabine fell backward, collapsing beside her sister. The silence that followed was absolute. Stefan lowered the gun. He looked at his hands. The same hands that had held Clara, built their home, sworn an oath to protect. Now they were a murderer's hands. He walked to the table, placed the gun down beside the morning newspaper, and sat. With steady fingers, he dialed the Herzberg police station. Police, how can I help you? It was Petra, the receptionist. Petra, it's Stefan Schneider. I need to report a homicide. Two, actually. Pause. Stefan, is this a joke? I'm not joking, Petra. I'm at my house. Bergstrasse 47. I just killed my wife, Clara, and my sister-in-law, Sabine. Send a team. The line went silent but for shocked breathing. Stefan, are you serious? Is this real? It's real. I'm unarmed. The gun is on the table. I'll wait here. I won't resist. And then, for the first time since the first shot, Stefan Schneider began to cry. The response was immediate and surreal. The call was patched to Commander Ralph Brandt, Stefan's former superior. Stefan, it's Ralph. Talk to me. What happened? I came home early, Stefan explained, his voice detached. I found my wife with her sister in my bed. They'd been having an affair for 6 months. I lost control. I shot them both. They're dead. The police units arrived on Bergstrasse within minutes. Neighbors watched in confusion and horror as Stefan emerged, hands raised, his shirt stained with blood. He obeyed every command mechanically, kneeling and being handcuffed by officers who had once been his colleagues. Inside, the forensic team found the scene exactly as described. 2 women, 2 shell casings, a life obliterated. In the police car, his former partner Jonas Muller sat beside him. Why, Stefan? Jonas asked, his voice thick with emotion. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you talk to me? What would you have done, Jonas? Stefan replied, his eyes empty. Changed the fact that my life was a lie? I had nothing left. No career. No marriage. Should I be remembered as the cuckolded idiot? Or the man who took justice into his own hands? That's not justice. It's murder. You know that. I know, Stefan agreed calmly. And I'll pay for it. But at least now they've paid too. The news spread through Herzberg like a shockwave. Helga Hoffman arrived, screaming and trying to push past the police tape. Commander Brandt had to deliver the unbearable news. I'm sorry. Clara and Sabine are dead. Her wail of grief echoed down the street, a sound of pure, universal agony. Stefan was booked and cooperated fully. When asked if he regretted it, he replied, I regret that it came to this. I don't regret that they paid for destroying me. His trial 6 months later garnered national attention. He pleaded guilty to both murders from the outset. The prosecution argued it was a cold, calculated execution. He went to the basement, retrieved his weapon, and returned to kill them. He had multiple opportunities to stop. He chose violence. The defense argued for mitigation, severe depression, a dissociative episode. But Stefan himself destroyed this argument when he addressed the court. I knew exactly what I was doing. I wasn't crazy. I was betrayed, humiliated, and destroyed. I wanted them to pay. It was a conscious choice. The verdict was swift. Guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder. No mitigating circumstances. The sentence was life imprisonment with a minimum of 25 years served. The house on Bergstrasse was eventually demolished. The land turned into a small park. Stefan became a model prisoner in the cell maximum security facility, a hollow man who refused all contact. Helga Hoffman never recovered. She established a foundation in her daughter's names, supporting victims of domestic violence and the LGBTQ+ community. I can't bring them back, she said, but I can try to prevent other families from suffering as mine has. The case of Stefan Schneider remains a dark lesson, a stark reminder of how the convergence of lost identity, betrayal, and unchecked rage can drive an ordinary man, even one trained to protect, across the most unimaginable line. 3 lives ended that day in March, two physically, and one in every way that matters. A community learned that the line between civilization and barbarism is terrifyingly thin.